So last night I went to go and watch Lilo and Stitch, the new live action adaptation from Disney. And unlike other live action adaptations, I actually have some few things to say about this. Now, before we get into this, I'm gonna just let you know that we are gonna talk spoilers about this movie. You know the storyline, you've seen the cartoon. There's not much that changed. So we're just gonna talk about just some spoilers that I really liked, but also ones that really bugged me about this movie. And that's just how we gonna do this one. Now, if you didn't know, this was a movie that I was actually really hyped for. I love Lilo and Stitch. I think if you're my age or maybe a little bit older and younger, you grew up with Lilo and Stitch. The first one being an absolute classic, the second one being memorable. I didn't really get too much into the cartoon show, but hey, you know, but throughout the marketing and the promoting for this live action version started to get really hyped, especially having the voice actor for Stitch coming back to reprise the role. In the marketing, the trailers looked funny. They looked very in line with the original movie as far as tone and feel. The cast throughout the marketing felt really funny, felt like they understood their characters. So I was really hyped to go and see this and to take the kids to go see this too. And finally seeing the movie, I probably have as many positives as I do negatives. So kind of getting into the positives first, the things that I liked about this movie. The first thing that I would probably mention is the setting, the atmosphere of the movie. I think that this live action does a good job at kind of capturing that same atmosphere as the cartoon, with a lot of the set pieces like Lilo's house looking very similar to how it did in the cartoon. I had a good time seeing that translated into live action. Secondly was the design of the aliens that we get, like Jumba, Pleakley, Stitch, even the design of the Grand Councilwoman. Like, they did a good job. The CGI is very noticeable. I think we might be at a time where CGI just always is noticeable. The texture of the models always look semi-computerized. So I think maybe we've just adjusted to the way CGI looks and can pin it out pretty easily. But by no means was it bad. Like, the characters' designs were good. The CGI was decent. I think Stitch probably looked the most real out of all of them, probably just because of the fur. But I enjoyed seeing that because I was kind of skeptical about how they were going to do Jumba and Pleakley into live action, if they were going to make some crazy changes. But no, this was damn near a 1-for-1, and it worked. It worked. They looked good to me. Talking a little bit about the story elements, I mean, we all seen the movie before. And even though this live action adaptation isn't necessarily a 1-for-1 shot of the cartoon, it's pretty close. They do a few changes with the story, with some characters that we'll talk a little bit about, but overall the story pretty much remains the same, of Nani trying to do all that she can in order to keep Lilo and not have her taken from her. Lilo with the struggle of kind of being a loner, not really having any friends, and here comes Stitch to kind of fill that void, all while causing some trouble, making Nani's whole goal pretty difficult to get. And all that is pretty much the same, with a few character changes, and that's kind of where my problems lie. But just before we talk about my negatives, there are a couple positives involving some of the characters and the actors that they got to play these characters. I mean, the highlight of the movie was absolutely Lilo. I'm not too sure how to pronounce the young actor's name, but she did such an amazing job at capturing this snarky, innocent, funny younger sister vibe that Lilo absolutely is. Very headstrong, very witty, talking back all the time, funny, but also playing very innocent. She did such an amazing job. She was perfect casting for Lilo. And talking about her older sister, Nani, was also a pretty decent portrayal, I thought. There were a few moments where I felt like maybe her acting was a little mid, a little off, but there's a sequence in the movie where she kind of comes to the realization like she's gonna have to give up Lilo, and that moment was done so well. And it was more so body language and the way she acted with her movements and her facial expressions that really made her stand out for me in this movie. Our actor that plays Pleakley also does a great job at kind of embodying Pleakley's quirky, weird, and overly happy self. I do think that they made him a little bit more positive in this live action version, whereas in the cartoon, I feel like he was almost like a C-3PO kind of character with more complaints and concerns and worries. And in this version, they made him a little bit more positive, energetic, kind of looking forward to things, but still felt very in line with the character, very annoying like the original character. And I think that he did a great job. And lastly, this will kind of transition off into some of my negatives, but the comedic relief, the comedic beats that they have in this movie, for the most part, I think that they work. This movie is very funny. I think a lot of that has to do with Lilo and her relationship with Stitch, but there are definitely a lot of moments in this movie that had me cracking up in the theater, and I enjoyed some of the jokes and the sarcasm that was being used. However, I do feel that there was a little bit of an overuse of music in the background, mixed with there not being well-timed silences for jokes or sarcasm to really land and sit with you. And sometimes that took away from the comedy. This movie moves very fast, and I don't know how or why that is when it comes to live action adaptations. I feel like when they try to do these one-for-one remakes, they try to keep the same flow of the cartoon, and it just doesn't work well with a live action version. And this movie moves very fast. There's a lot of moments, hard-hitting moments, that don't really sit with you. You're not really living in or given time to really process it. And that also happens with a lot of the comedy that's in it too. There's some moments where I feel like just a second or two longer of silence, that joke would have hit way harder. But the movie just is a constant go, and it, I think, hinders the movie a little bit and doesn't allow you to really feel the emotion that you're designed to feel. Now, most of my negatives moving forward kind of deal with certain characters and what they decided to do with these characters as far as changes. Starting out with Cobra Bubbles. We all know who he is, but they do something different in this movie where he is not the social worker. He's not the one that's trying to come for Lilo. He is a CIA agent, which, as we know from the cartoon, was Cobra Bubbles' background. That's what he did. But the way that they did it in this live action version, I feel kind of took away from the sympathetic part of Cobra Bubbles that was shown in the cartoon. He's way more stoic here, way more focused on his plan to get these aliens. And while he does have one little funny moment with Lilo, the whole Cobra Bubbles tatted on his knuckles, overall, I feel like he was kind of boring, honestly. And I think that a lot of that has to do with the fact that his character was damn near split into two. And so he played more of this militant, straightforward type of character who had a mission, and that was his goal. Also, the character of Jumba kind of pissed me off. Not gonna lie to you. Now look, I like Zach Galifianakis. I think he is funny as hell in his movies though. His comedy is very specific, I think. And when it comes to this movie, he's not very comedic. And I feel like Jumbo from the cartoon has this je ne sais quoi, if you could, you know, the accent, this raspy voice that he has. Jumbo's very funny. But what they did with his character here, I mean, the opening sequence, right, even of the cartoon, where they got Stitch on trial and then Jumbo comes out and he's talking about his experiment. The moment Jumbo opened his mouth in this live action version, it completely threw it off for me, and I just was not down. Jumbo lacks his comedy in this movie. He's more sarcastic, but really in a non-funny, kind of an asshole kind of way. It just doesn't land right. It's not the same. It's not what I was expecting from Jumbo. Not to mention what they did with his character was, and this pissed me off too, he is Gantu. He is Jumbo and Gantu. And the fact that they took out Gantu, I hate that. I hate that they decided to do that. So in this movie, we have Jumbo being a full-on villain. And I just didn't like that because Jumbo ends up part of the family, and that's kind of the dynamic. So it really kind of pissed me off that they decided to do that with his character. I don't know if it was like a budget issue of not having this big alien of Gantu walking around. I guess I understand that, but it just took away from the Jumbo that I knew. And I get trying to do little bit of things differently here and there, but that was one that I kind of feel should have been the same. If they ever do a second one, which please don't, then I doubt Jumbo would even be a part of the second one. But I didn't like what they did with Jumbo, and I did not like Zach Galifianakis as the voice for him either. The only other character I really had a problem with was David. I feel like David was just completely stupid in this movie. Didn't have any of the depth that his character had in the cartoon. And don't get me wrong, David was always kind of dumb when Nani was around, but he had some heartfelt motivational moments that really showed you that he had a brain, and that I just feel was lacking in this live action adaptation. He's not a huge part of the movie, but he's there, and I didn't like the way that they wrote him. I didn't like the portrayal of him. Although I will say a dope addition to this cast, I guess, is Amy Hill. She is funny, hilarious, everything she does. She may as well be Queen Hawaii herself. She's funny. And I really liked her addition and playing this kind of motherly figure to Nani and Lilo. And it worked really, really well. I liked her dynamic with the family. If I could kind of backtrack and talk maybe just about another positive-ish, is Stitch himself. I did Lilo and Stitch, and I left out Stitch. But Stitch looked amazing. CGI was cool. Having our returning voice, I mean, he sounds like Stitch, and that was awesome too. And he is just as funny as his cartoon counterpart. Stitch is hilarious. His crash outs, his tantrums, he's funny as all get out, and I had a really good time with that. But unfortunately, he falls into those issues of the comedic beats not really being left to breathe. So some of the moments that he has, it's just really, really short-lived, and you're constantly going. I wish the pace of this movie was just a little bit slower for a live action. It made the montages of this movie feel kind of weird too. But even with all that said, this is one of Disney's better entries as far as live action adaptations go. I don't think it's enough to really save the reputation of these live action adaptations. That Jumba issue really, that was a big one for me, but this was definitely enjoyable. We went to go see it as a family. The kids loved it. My youngest actually stayed awake this time during the theater, so it was worth it. And I think if you have young kids too, or children that have been watching, you know, the Lilo and Stitch cartoon, they'll enjoy it. It is definitely worth going to see in theaters and having a good time. You will laugh. You might even feel a little bit emotional. There are some heartfelt moments in this movie, especially with Nani. And I love that they kind of focused a little bit more on her in this movie, showing that she really is a kid too, trying to take care of a kid. And they really highlight that in this live action version. So there are those emotional beats there that do hit, but I don't know if this will be like the best live action adaptation that Disney has done, but it was a good time. If I got to give this movie a score, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. So when it comes to Lilo and Stitch, if you are someone who grew up with the original cartoon, or if you have kids yourself, I definitely think this should be one that you go check out in theaters. It'll be a fun time. And that is all I got for you guys regarding Lilo and Stitch. If you stayed to the end of this video, I really appreciate that. Thank you. Make sure you hit that like button and we can try and get this video out to more people. Also consider subscribing to the channel. That way you don't miss out on any future videos and content that get put out. As always, man, I am out of here. Y'all be smooth and stay geeked up.